Again, what did we learn so far? Number one, I need to be a little bit higher to become more efficient in my test. Well, the overground simulation been shown in all 3 studies indicate that it is likely to be more representative in our actual match play compared to the treadmill simulation based on the physiological changes. In addition, eccentric hamstring strength and the function HQ ratios has been consistently shown to be reduced over time, which indicate that muscle hamstring eccentric is being most affected during match play. And there's no significant changes in knee mechanics in all 3 studies. So perhaps our 45-minute match simulation and the anticipated side cutting tasks were not rigorous enough to induce this kind of changes that may relate to a higher risk of injuries. So therefore, to address these issues, in study 4, we look at the evaluations of or markers of ACL injuries during a match simulation in a more prolonged durations. The objective of these studies is to investigate the effect of a full 90 minutes match simulations on biomechanical and also muscle strength related risk factors of ACL injuries. We have recruited 18 participants in the studies. All participants are required to perform a familiarization sessions, and during testing, participants are required to perform a full 90 minutes overground simulations with a side cutting and muscle strength test. And we analyzed the data using a one-way ANOVA. So we found during testing, participants are required to perform a similar dynamic soccer specific warm-up followed by a passive rest. We use the overground simulations only in these studies, as has been shown to be more representative of a match plays, and we use a full 90 minutes match simulation. We test the strength before match simulation start, immediately after 45 minutes of match simulation, before the start of the second half, and immediately after full 90 minutes of match play. In heart rate and RP is recorded the selected time during match play. We use a similar function HQ ratios at 120 degrees per second and only in the dominant leg. The side cutting assessment, we did some slightly change that in the past we only test a pre and post, but in this test we test the side cutting assessment during the simulation to have a more to investigate more temporal changes during match play. We use a similar lower limb trunk models. My daughter liked this model a lot, and she thought it's fun to have this kind of model. And I thought whether we develop a new model that we call it the LLT model as well, but the lower limb Tinkerbell model, which is quite fun. We used an unanticipated side cutting task of 45 degrees change of direction, an open or crossover side cutting task. An approach speed has been set similar to 4 to 5 meters per second, and an only dominant leg word test. For these studies, we only measure and analyze the open side cutting, as has been shown to be more representative of most ACL injuries movement. So we use the same 10 cameras with similar setting as previous studies. However, in the sagittal plane, we also measure the hip angles as well as the knee angles. The key findings indicate that the heart rate and RPE levels are similar to what being observed during actual match play and similar to other match simulations. The biomechanical markers show that the knee joint moment has been shown to be reduced over time, which is surprise. However, a more extended knee during the second half has been observed, as well as a more extended hip has been observed during the last 15 minutes of the second half. So these extended body postures may associate with an increased proximal tibial anterior shear force, which due to increased patellar tendon tibia shaft angle, which likely to increase the risk of ACL injury. Similarly, in muscle strength related markers, we've seen a reduction in hamstring eccentric and also functional HQ ratios across over time. So what else have you learned in these studies? Number one, hamstring eccentric and functional HQ ratios has been shown consistently to be reduced over time. And in fact, the reduction is further during a full 90-minute match. More erect landing posture, which is demonstrated by more extended knee and hip, has also been shown. And however, a reduce in peak knee abduction moment has also been a big surprise in these studies. But I will address this issue later in my presentation. Another important thing that we found that 15 minutes of passive rest during halftime intervals have shown to have some negative effect on knee mechanics as well as muscular strength, which may have implication of ACL injuries. Therefore, in study 5, we have looked at some interventions which hope to address the effect of a negative of 50 minutes of passive rest. In the past, studies have shown that passive rest has induced more negative changes in the extension angle as well as a reduction in hamstring eccentric strength, and also observed during my previous studies. So a lower muscle temperature has been suggested as one of the key reasons of why this change is happening. The active free warm-up program, which has been shown to be positively increase muscle temperatures and enhance improvement in a physical soccer-specific skills and also performance, has been speculated to be also beneficial in preventing injuries. However, whether this active re-warm-up reduces the risk of injuries are still unknown. Therefore, the objective of this study is to investigate the effect of half-time re-warm-up has to reverse the increased biomechanical and muscular strength injury risk in the second half of match play. So we have recruited 14 recreational trained male soccer players in these studies. Participants are required to attend the lab for familiarization sessions and were randomly assigned to perform a re-warm-up intervention or a passive control. We analyzed the data by using a two-way ANOVA repeated measures. We used similar muscle strength assessment in the previous studies at the selected time and similar side cutting assessment with the previous studies. The re-warm-up interventions happens 6 minutes before the start of the second half. And the interventions are utilizing an intermittent agility exercises, moving forward, sideways, or slalom within 40% of their peak heart rate. And this protocol has been adopted by other protocol by Lovell and Moha. So what we found that muscle strength in muscle strength parameters, re-warm-up did not offset the negative effect of a match play, which we shown that the hamstring eccentric peak torque has been, and the functional HQ ratios reduced over time. In fact, we also seen an angle of peak torque changes during match play. In addition, no significant changes has been observed in the biomechanical risk factors. Perhaps whether rewarm-up interventions that we conducted in our studies really induce a specific adaptation to injury preventions. Perhaps these kind of interventions are likely to increase muscle temperature but not necessarily reduce the risk of injuries. So therefore, these studies requires further investigation. So overall conclusion of these studies is soccer match play induce a greater muscle strength related impairment and related with hamstring eccentric strength and also functional HQ ratios. In addition, biomechanical risk factor related with more extended landing postures are likely to contribute to ACL injury risk in male soccer players. And this also support the sagittal plane mechanism of sagittal plane injury mechanism has been proposed by Quadman recently. Half-time rewarm-up has not been shown to be inducing any positive effect. However, it also requires further investigation to ensure whether a different type of half-time rewarm-up perhaps may induce some positive changes. So some practical implications can be done by